Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Thurgood Marshall College Academic Advising first year webinar on planning your first quarter schedule. We're excited to have you all here with us, and we look forward to all this information we're going to be giving you today. My name is Emily Gonzalez, and I am the Assistant Dean of Academic Advising here at Marshall College. And joining me today is...
My name is Elizabeth Miller, and I'm one of the senior academic counselors and orientation coordinator for Marshall College.
And my name is Michael Gancitano. I'm also a senior academic counselor at Marshall College.
Thanks, Lizzie and Michael. So today we'll be reviewing a guideline on how you can expect to choose coursework for your first quarter at UC San Diego using the resources the Academic Advising Office has provided to you throughout the summer. So the duration of our webinar today will be about 60 minutes, and we encourage you to submit your questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. So where do you start? In order to help you choose the best courses for your first quarter at UC San Diego, we'll be reviewing the following resources: academic plans, your enrollment guidance, the general catalog of courses, major department websites, and the Marshall College general education requirements. These resources will help you prepare for your upcoming enrollment in August. Now, what is an academic plan? So the academic plans are templates of what students can expect to complete per quarter in order to finish their degree in 4 years or less. So every student will enter UC San Diego with a different academic background. So the academic plans are used primarily as guides to help you visualize your time to degree. So to access the academic plan for your major, you want to visit plans.ucsd.edu. So that's the first step. Step 2, you want to set Thurgood Marshall as your college. So setting Thurgood Marshall for your college. Step 3, you want to enter 2021-2022 as your entering year. Once you're there, select the declared or your officially proposed major program on your academic background. So for this example, we're selecting a student within the chemistry and biochemistry department. Next, select the appropriate major based on the list of options. And again, the example we're using here is a declared chemistry, major code CH25 student. So for step 4, this is where you can view your proposed academic plan. It'll generate the plan for the selected major for Marshall students specifically, who were admitted for this upcoming academic year, so 2021 to 2022. And when you see this plan, you want to focus primarily on your upcoming fall 2021 quarter. So that's your first quarter at UCSD. Now, where is my enrollment guidance? Your enrollment guidance will be available starting August 6th at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So again, that's 8 a.m. August 6th, Pacific Daylight Time. Once your enrollment guidance is released, you'll find them on the Virtual Advising Center. And at that time, you'll log on to vac.ucsd.edu with your student account information. Again, that's vac.ucsd.edu. Next, you'll go ahead and click on the Enrollment Guidance tab. Once you're there, the site will open your enrollment guidance, which will look very similar to the screenshot here. So the top portion shows your major and placement information specific to your academic record. So you'll want to make sure to review this section carefully to ensure that it's reporting accurately. So next, the course selection and enrollment recommendations section provides you some context and resources to consider when planning your first quarter. So note that this resource will be available to you throughout your entire enrollment period. So you can go back in, you can go back out to review the information there. So once you have enrolled in courses, you want to consider revisiting this information so you have a better understanding of your courses for the fall quarter. And this information here will help you guide your course selection, not just for fall, but also for the winter and the spring quarters. Now, it's common for first-year students to enroll in the following schedule. So as a sample schedule, and we know that you've all been really thinking about this, we see our first-year students and recommend our first-year students to enroll in one writing course, one math course, one natural science GE or a major course, as well as one fine arts GE or a major course. And so as your enrollment guidance becomes available, you'll see this guide along with the academic plan for your major to choose appropriate courses for your first quarter. So you'll be using your guidance and your academic plan for your major to kind of compare, contrast, and see what courses you should be taking based on the schedule that we're recommending for you. Now, if you'd like to verify what you have chosen, what you selected, you're welcome to contact your college. So that's us, Thurgood Marshall College, or your department advisors or programs through the Ask a Question tab in the back. And this option will be available starting on August 9th. So remember that August 9th is when you can start messaging the college and your departments with any questions you have about your plan. And I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to Lizzie.
All right, so in addition to your academic plans and enrollment guidance, we also want you to review other important enrollment resources, which include the UC San Diego General Catalog, and then an overview of how to access major department and program information, and your Marshall College general education requirements. The general catalog outlines the courses and majors offered here at UC San Diego each year. Students should consider reviewing the catalog to learn more about courses, prerequisites, co-requisites, and general descriptions of each of the courses. To access the general catalog, visit catalog.ucsd.edu and click on courses/curricula/faculty. Navigate to your program of interest. For example, our incoming chemistry students will want to select the chemistry and biochemistry program. Select courses to view the program's courses. And then UC San Diego's lower division courses are numbered between 1 through 99. And UC San Diego's upper division courses are numbered between 100 through 199. During your first quarter, you will complete lower division coursework. Keep in mind, some courses will have prerequisites or co-requisites. Prerequisites are requirements students must have already completed before they are eligible to enroll in the course. Co-requisites are requirements that students must have already completed or are concurrently completing to be eligible to enroll in the course. Right. Another important tool to help you prepare for your upcoming first quarter is the major department and programs websites that provide you with information on major requirements. You can find your major department or program website by logging onto Triton Link. From there, navigate to academics, to advising, to the majors/minors, where you can then find appropriate program information. Department websites, department and program websites are useful tools in planning your academic work. They contain valuable information such as course requirement information, important announcements and updates, learning and internship opportunities, current and popular events surrounding the major field, and then faculty and staff contact information. In addition to your major department, you will also want to review the Marshall College website, particularly the general education webpage. Our office has made a convenient fall 2021 GE sheet that lists which GE courses are available this upcoming fall quarter. The GE sheet will be made available on the Virtual Advising Center. You can review a full list of all the Marshall College general education requirements by visiting marshall.ucsd.edu/GE. Here you will find more information about the various Marshall College GE requirements and courses that can meet the requirements beyond your first quarter. Now I'm going to pass it back on to Emily.
Thanks, Lizzie. So, preparing for your fall quarter enrollment. So after receiving your enrollment guidance on August 6th, and again, that's this Friday, and reviewing your other academic resources, confirm you're ready for enrollment by asking yourself the following questions. Is your course placement correct? Did you send all transcripts and test scores to the UCSD Office of Admissions? So remember those two questions, big important ones, to make sure you're geared up for your fall quarter enrollment. Again, mark your calendar for August 9th. This is when academic advising will be available to you online through the Virtual Advising Center. Make sure you use all the information discussed in today's webinar session, as well as all the valuable information for you on the Virtual Advising Center as you prepare to enroll. You can also learn more about registering for courses by visiting the WebReg tutorial online at tinyurl.com/WebRegTutorial. So now at this time, we are going to review and answer any incoming questions that you might have, and we're already seeing a lot of them. So I encourage you to use that Q&A function and drop your questions there. And keep in mind that only questions open to the general public can be addressed during our session. So what that means is if you have any questions that are specific to your record or personal situation regarding your academic record, we ask you to hold off on that for now and then wait for online advising to open up on August 9th, because that way we can really look at your record and advise you more accurately, depending on what your situation is. Okay, so our counselors are going to just take a quick peek at the Q&A, and we'll answer some live, and we'll also answer some in the chat as well. Okay, so one of the first questions we have, let's see, I have a hold. How much time do I have to resolve it? So depending on your hold, usually it can take about 24 hours to get that lifted. So if you have a hold on your record right now, you want to go back to your email to see any emails you received about that hold, because that email will contain information on how you can resolve it. So again, make sure you go back to your email. And if you still can't figure it out, send us a message next week, Monday, August 9th, and we'll be happy to look into that for you.
I see a couple of folks who have asked about specifics in terms of their major programs and the major offerings in terms of like number codes. And we recommend going to the department and program websites. Through the department and program websites, typically they provide the number codes and then the differences. So they'll give you a kind of a layout of the various majors and their requirements. So for folks that are asking about how do I know the difference, we really recommend checking the department program websites to get more information on the specific differences between the majors, and then kind of comparing what those look like. You can also use the plans.ucsc.edu to identify some of the differences as well. And then I also see who can I contact to talk about my choices of courses. So starting on Monday, you can contact us through the Virtual Advising Center if you have questions specific to you and your course choices.
So another question that we have here in the chat, the general question, what are some examples of writing courses? So UCSC has multiple writing courses, but I'm going to assume that this question is in reference to the Dimensions of Culture sequence required of all first-year students, all first-year Marshall students at UCSC. So for incoming students, first-year students, you all are required to complete Doc 1, Doc 2, and Doc 3. So that is our Lore Division writing sequence for you to complete. Information about Doc is available on our website, and you can go ahead, check it out there. They have their own section there on our website, and their program gives a very good description of what the Doc sequence is all about. See, so we also have another, let's see, about a question about a chemistry test required for Chem 6A. So something good to know is that the Chem placement test is not a requirement for students to take. That's only something that's recommended. So if you have a pretty good handle of chemistry, you know, maybe took some chemistry in high school, maybe took a calculus class in high school, you're probably ready to do Chem 6A. But if you're not sure about what chemistry to start with for the fall quarter, you're welcome to take the chemistry placement exam. Again, it's not required, but you can certainly take it if you're not sure which chem course to start with.
So for does open major just mean an uncapped major? Yes. If it's an open major, it is uncapped. We also recommend though checking the capped major lists that you can find through Triton Link, especially if you're looking into trying to switch into a capped major. So that way you can look at the processes necessary to look into that option.
So we have a couple questions that are kind of related to enrollment guidance and how that information is going to show up. So in terms of AP that you have earned, and assuming that the AP credit is posted to your record, particularly if it's math, the calculus AP, and if you did the writing AP, that information will be reflected on your enrollment guidance, because it'll tell you that based on the credit that you earned through your AP, enrollment guidance will tell you what course you should take next. So, you know, if you got a 4 on the AP Calc AB exam, enrollment guidance is going to recommend the next course you take in the calculus series. So primarily for English and for calculus, you'll see that information posted to your enrollment guidance. Any other AP that you took, you'll see that on your academic history and Triton Link, so you'll be able to see that information there. Now, also related to the enrollment guidance, so when you all put in your academic background information to the new student site, some of you may have had a declared major, or maybe you're coming undeclared, but now you're kind of thinking of another major. So maybe you put in a proposed major, right? So at this point, you know, it's okay if you didn't put in a proposed major, like if you're still thinking about it, it's okay if you didn't put that in, put that information in. because it won't affect your enrollment guidance too much. But what you can do is, if you are thinking of changing your major and you have some questions about that, you want to make sure you let us know starting Monday, right? What questions you have about, you know, how your coursework might change for the fall because you're thinking of proposing a different major, okay? But in the meantime, you want to use those academic plans just to kind of see what your first quarter would look like with that proposed major, because that'll absolutely save you a lot of time when you are selecting your courses for the fall.
I see a couple questions about navigating APs and IB tests that you've taken. You can look up the AP IB chart. If you can type it in the Google, and it will pop up how the AP IB test scores are transferred. But then on top of that, if you're looking to see if there are specific courses that they're articulated to, approximated to once you're here, you should be able to check, sorry, in your academic history, once your AP tests and IB tests have been posted to your record, you should be able to see how they've been transferred into UCSD. It's also a great place to check to make sure that all of your AP and IB tests have been posted to your record. If you see that there's something missing, you can follow up on that information with.
Now we have a couple questions related to navigating different websites, how to, when can I take the math placement exam? So the first question is, what's the link to navigate to the major website? So easiest way to do this is if you're looking for your major department's website, you can always go to ucsd.edu. That's one website, or you can go to catalog.ucsd.edu and look up your major departments there. Those sites will give you direct links to your department, and each department on campus has their own website. So if we can get Monica, if you can drop maybe a link in the chat just to kind of direct students to those two websites. And then in terms of the MPE, so that's the math placement exam. When can I take the MPE? So for some of you, if you need to take calculus next quarter, but you haven't done calculus before, and so you need to take the math placement exam, the MPE is offered on different dates, and I believe in August and in September. And so we'll also drop that link in the chat to mathtesting.ucsd.edu, so that if you need to take the MPE, you want to go to that website, check out the test dates, and see if you can take that online, in person, whatever is being offered. So not too late to take it, but best to take it as soon as the next one is offered. In addition to that, another question, if you're taking the MPE after enrollment time, how can you enroll in the right math class? So basically what's going to happen is you'll need to wait before you can enroll in math until after you take the MPE. Because the MPE is going to, obviously, it's going to tell you which math class you're going to take, what's the next in the series you're going to take. So you'll have to wait. And while you're waiting for those results, and they usually happen pretty quickly, right, after you've taken that exam, you want to have an eye on the scheduled classes, because the math placement exam is only going to place you into one of 4 classes. It'll either be math 3A, math 4A, math 10A, or math 20A, right? So those are the introductory math classes, calculus courses at UCSD. So just to give you an idea of what to watch out for, you want to keep an eye on enrollments for those 4 classes, so that when you do get your MPE results, you'll know which course you're going to take, and you can go straight and add that class as soon as possible.
There's a question about electives being recommended in your first quarter, and can GEs overlap with electives? GEs are the set of requirements that will complete your general education requirements. So those will be fulfilling specific degree requirements. Electives, depending on their use, so you might be taking electives as part of your major, and those electives, if they're counting towards your major requirements, do not overlap with your general education requirements. However, if they're electives, kind of just general electives that you may be taking for units or to fill full-time students, units of 12 units, student standing, then those could technically overlap with GEs, but in taking the GE course, then they would be considered a GE class, and you might be able to move that elective coursework to another time, depending on the plans that you're working with. Reminder that they're general plans that you can work with to help guide you in creating your own academic plans. So the elective courses can be flexible, and the GE courses will be considered GE courses. And then another there is another question about pursuing minors. That's definitely something that students can do and start exploring in their first year. You don't have to declare it right away. We recommend that you explore your minor options, and then you can go to the major minor tool once you're enrolled to kind of pursue those options. You can also go to how to declare a minor as part of Triton Link, and it will walk you through some guides in kind of looking at what minors and how to pursue that, and what steps you need to take to declare the minor.
Yes, a couple of questions. Let's see. You may be thinking about changing your major and wondering, how do I change my major before I start the fall quarter? So students will be able to switch to another major after they've enrolled in their fall classes. So as soon as you have one class on your schedule for the fall quarter, you can hop on a Triton Link, use the major minor tool, and declare your new major. Now, the only caveat is that you can do that pretty quickly as long as the major that you want to change to is not capped. So example of capped majors would be majors in the School of Engineering, biology majors are capped. So those areas have specific admissions requirements that if you are thinking of switching to those majors, you'll want to hop onto those department websites to see what coursework you need to complete before you'd be eligible to switch to the major. But any other major that is not capped, you'll be able to switch to after you've enrolled in your fall classes. Another question we have is, how do folks decide about what level of certain courses? So example, what level of chemistry or math should you take? So this is going to happen on several different in several different ways. So if you have any AP for chemistry or math, that's going to determine what's next in the series you take for chemistry or math. If you don't have any AP, or if you didn't take any college coursework or whatnot in those areas for transfer to UCSC, that's all fine. You can take the placement exam for chemistry. You'll also need to take the placement exam for math if your major requires calculus. So the enrollment guidance will give you more information about that, and we'll give you links to different sites that you can go to read up on that. But essentially, it's really calculus, so math and chemistry, where the placement is really going to help you out. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's really just chemistry and math. But if you have any other questions about that pertaining to your particular situation, make sure to send us a message starting next week, Monday, and we're happy to look into your record in more detail.
There's a question about a reminder on what happens on August 6th. So August 6th is when the enrollment guidance will be available through the Virtual Advising Center. And then I'm going to find a couple more questions.
So while Lizzie is looking through your wonderful Q&A questions, I've got a few up here that we can go ahead and answer. And let's see. So good question. Are students who have later enrollment times at a disadvantage enrolling for classes, particularly since classes get filled up fast? What can we do? So when students enroll in their first quarter of classes, you are all given randomized enrollment times. So some will enroll, at the beginning of the enrollment period for first year students. Others will enroll at the end. Now, what happens with the departments is that they save classes. They save seats in specific foundational courses for students. So that makes the process a little bit more fair, right? To address this particular situation. But this, it happens, and you may not get into your first choice class, like your first choice section. So in those situations, you want to make sure you have a backup section for the class or a backup class, so that if you find yourself in the situation that, oh, I can't get into that class, you'll have a backup or two to consider to make sure, you get into courses that are going to meet requirements. Now, again, there are situations that come up where it is difficult to get classes, but we're here to help work through that with you, to give you a lot of different options to get your classes. So we want students to have a plan A and a plan B, right? Always have a backup for your first choice classes. Now, next question is, what is WebReg? And I know we've been talking about WebReg, like WebReg is all over the place. So WebReg is the web registration system that all students will be using to enroll in their classes. And you can get WebReg through TritonLink. I think we have a WebReg tutorial that's available as well that you can search for on TritonLink, and maybe we can drop that link in the chat as well. But WebReg is what you're going to use to enroll in your classes every quarter.
All right, so should the enrollment guidance include AP credits? And then also, will it recommend what classes we take each quarter, or at least for the first quarter? So your enrollment guidance will should take into consideration some of your AP coursework. If you look at your enrollment guidance and you see that your AP scores are not considered, you're welcome to contact us through the Virtual Advising Center to help you navigate what that would mean for your courses. And then the enrollment guidance is primarily for your first quarter enrollment. However, the plans.ucsc.edu and then our Marshall College GE page, and then the programs and department pages can help you plan as you're going through your first quarter, your next couple quarters, and then begin to create your 4-year plan as it works, and as you create your kind of classes and kind of navigate what works best for you. And then AP scores do come into play as you are enrolling. So if you see that there's AP scores that are missing, or if you need to enroll in a class and one of your AP scores is part of the prerequisites to maybe get into a class, but it's not posted to your record, so maybe it's preventing enrollment, we recommend contacting either the departments that the course is, the AP class is a prerequisite for maybe a course you're enrolling in, or if you're trying to navigate that, contact admissions. Make sure you've sent your AP scores in. That's really, really important, because if they're not sent in, then they won't appear on your record. So make sure you have requested that those AP scores, IB scores are sent to UC San Diego.
Another question that we have is related to GE. The question is, what is disciplinary breadth GE requirement? So disciplinary breadth is required for all Marshall students to complete. And generally students they have to take 4 classes for breadth. And these courses are courses that are selected from outside of your major's discipline. So the basic idea for breadth is that we want you to take coursework that is different from what you would normally be taking. And that is the idea behind, you're getting a breadth of academic experience on your record through completing this particular GE requirement.
There's a question about holds in general. So it depends on the hold you may have. Holds are placed by different departments and areas on campus. So you can navigate what holds you have through Triton Link. And then by navigating that, you will be able to see how to contact them, to remove the hold if you have an orientation hold because you haven't registered for orientation yet. That hold will lift automatically once you register for orientation. I can only answer that because I work in orientation for Marshall College. If you have other holds on your account, you should be able to contact the department to navigate how to lift the hold. So you should be able to find that on Triton Link. And then the second question I see here is how many classes per semester are recommended? So at UC San Diego, we're on the quarter system. So there are 10-week quarters. And we recommend 12 to 16 typically. So 12 units is considered full-time. That's about 3 classes. Some courses are courses here at UC San Diego are generally about 4 units. You may have labs that are a few less. There may be some other courses, maybe more, depending on the courses you're taking. So average is 12 to 16. Anything below 12, you'd be considered a part-time. So make sure you're enrolling in at least 12 and then navigating what works best for you and how you learn.
Okay, next couple questions. If you've taken any coursework at a community college and you want to know how the courses have fulfilled the GE requirement, usually if the coursework at the community college is equivalent to a UCSC class, and if that class can count towards a GE requirement, you'll see it noted on what's called your degree audit. But right now, if you have a question about a particular course that you took, contact us on Monday and we can tell you specifically if that course can count for a specific GE requirement. At this point, at least right now, early in the enrollment period, that's probably the easiest and quickest way to find out if that course will count for a GE requirement. Next question is about if you haven't taken an AP math course, do you need to take the math placement exam? Not necessarily. So if you have not taken a calculus course before, whether that be pre-calc or an actual calculus course, and your major requires calculus, you'll need to take the math placement exam. If your major does not require calculus, if you haven't taken calculus before, you do not need to take the math placement exam. There is a math requirement for Marshall College, but at the same time, we give you non-calculus options to take to satisfy that math requirement for us. So no worries if if you are not too keen on taking the math placement exam. It's not necessary unless you fall under those different considerations. Another question is related to what we recommend in enrollment guidance. So the general education requirements mention 3 courses in natural science, which is true. Marshall students have to take a lower division biology, chemistry, and physics course for GE. But on the academic plan or the enrollment guidance, we suggest taking a major course or natural science or fine art. So these are separate requirements. If you opted to take a major course, then you'll take a natural science or a fine art GE in another quarter, or you'll take another class for that. But a major course doesn't necessarily meet a natural science or a fine art GE. There are exceptions out there where, say you're a biology major and you have to take a lower division biology course. In those situations, you can overlap lower division bio course for your major, as well as with a lower division bio GE requirement for us. So So it happens in certain situations, but again, if you're unsure about what that would look like for you, send us a question on Monday and we can look directly at your record to see, again, what that would look like for you. Next question is, again, if you're not taking the math placement exam until, after your enrollment time, again, that's okay. The math placement test will only pause you from enrolling in a math class until you get your results of that math placement exam. But you can enroll in your other classes, okay? So the math placement exam will only stop you from enrolling in math until you get those results.
There's a question on enrollment times and what that means if you potentially have a later enrollment time. As mentioned earlier, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get the classes that you want, but we do always recommend, even for people who may have an early enrollment time, to have option plans A, B, and potentially C to navigate those classes. So if the classes that you do want are filled, that you have a plan in place to navigate if you cannot get into your first choice classes. So it doesn't necessarily mean that all the classes will be filled by the time you enroll in classes because it's dependent on who's enrolling and what courses they're interested in. So it's not necessarily going to hinder you, but we do recommend that you are prepared with other courses that will also fit into your schedule. And then this next question, I think I'm reading it correctly. There's a student who's asking about minors and if they're looking to pursue minors for post-secondary education or other graduate studies, if they need to take on more classes or do the requirements change. So if I'm understanding that correctly, your students are welcome to pursue minors. The plans.ucsc.edu does not include minors into those plans. So if you're interested in pursuing minors or looking at prerequisites for post-secondary, potentially pre-health or med school programs, you'll have to navigate what those requirements are and fit them into your schedule. So it doesn't change your major requirements, but minors and or prerequisites for grad programs will ask you to do some work in researching where those classes fit into your schedule and how you can time them all so that you can get them done in your planning process. So it's not laid out in just a general way. You do have to navigate how to integrate either minor or other grad school prerequisite programs, or if you're looking to double major. There is no one layout for integrating all of those things. So you'll have to do some work with the departments and programs, either or the Career Center as well. The Career Center is a great tool for post-secondary education or grad programs and what kind of requirements are typical for common ones. And then this other question is there a place where we can find all the wonderful links that we have stated in this presentation? And we will be posting this webinar on our website, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So if you, in the next 2 weeks, you're welcome to navigate into our website and we will have our webinar posted there.
Next question is very good question. Actually, two really good questions. So do you pick your classes by yourself? So yes and no, right? So when you see your enrollment guidance, you're going to see all that information there, and then you're going to create, you're going to look through those resources and you're going to see what classes you want to take, what classes you think you need to take, right? And then once you have those 4 classes selected, 4 to 5 maybe classes selected, you can always check with us. Again, we are available online to assist you with your course selection. If you're feeling iffy about classes or just not sure what to take, send us what you think you want to enroll in, and then we can absolutely let you know if it's an appropriate schedule. Okay, so we encourage you to work through those resources first beforehand, and then send us your questions next week so that we can look at your record directly. Another question that we received is, are courses taught year round? So because UCSD is on a quarter system, say you take Math 10A in the fall quarter. Math 10A is not going to last fall, winter, and spring quarters. Math 10A is only going to last for 10 weeks in the fall quarter. And then in the winter quarter, you're going to be enrolled in a whole new set of courses, and those courses will last just for winter. And then the same thing will happen for spring. You're going to enroll in a whole other, new bunch of classes, and those classes will only last for the duration of the spring quarter. So important to know, quarter system is only 10 weeks, and many of you are coming from, you're coming from the semester systems where you're taking classes year round. So something to keep in mind when selecting your classes.
There's a question on the American history and institutions requirement, the AH&I requirement, and how that is fulfilled. There are several ways that is fulfilled. If you completed high school in California and your transcripts are sent to UC San Diego, then typically you will have completed the H&I requirement. That isn't usually posted to your record until after week 4 of fall quarter. So we recommend kind of checking later in the quarter, later during fall quarter, to see if it has been posted maybe after week 5. If you see that it is still unfulfilled, you're welcome to follow up with us to see where it is in that process. If you know that you sent in your transcripts, kind of check in on that. If you did not complete your high school in California, there are several ways that you can complete the requirement. And if you go on to the UCSD catalog and then navigate to the American History and Institutions header, there are several options on ways that you can complete the American History and Institutions requirement, both either here or through community college work. And then for selecting department programs section, I believe this is connected to the plans.ucsd.edu, how to navigate and make sure that you're looking at the correct plan. Yes, you will select the department or program that your major is housed in. So for our webinar today, we selected the chemistry and biochemistry for a student that is pursuing a chemistry major. So yes, you'll select either you'll select the department or program that your major is housed in.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, and we're going to try to get through as many of these questions as possible. But if your question does not get answered, again, we have the e-advising period opening up next week, Monday at 8 a.m. So if you don't hear your questions answered here today, make sure you send them to us on Monday, and we can answer them at that time as well. So let's see. So let's get through some of these questions here. Are you required to send your AP scores? So we recommend sending in your AP scores, especially if they're courses that can affect your placement in specific classes. So if you haven't sent them in, we recommend you send them in as soon as possible. Will everyone take the Dimensions of Culture class in the first fall quarter? So the majority of first year students will take Doc 1 in the first quarter. So those are students who are eligible to take the course. So students who met the entry-level writing requirement, the majority of students will be able to take that class in their first quarter. AP credit, how does AP credit work at UCSD? So it does allow you to skip certain introductory classes depending on what you scored on your AP test, on your AP exam, and what credit UCSD accepts for that. So yes, it is possible to skip certain introductory classes. Doc courses. Doc courses, are they the same as entry-level writing courses or are they separate? So the Doc courses, Doc 1, 2, and 3, that is the college level writing sequence for Marshall students. The entry level writing courses, the ELWR courses, those are the courses that students will take to prepare for Doc 1. So if you placed into an AWP 4A course, or if you placed into AWP 3, those courses are considered the entry level writing courses, and those courses need to be completed before you do Doc, at least Doc 1.
There's a couple questions on switching to capped majors. So if you're hoping to switch to capped major, we recommend going to the capped major website through Triton Link to go to the specific major and look at the processes and navigate what is required for you to either apply or to pursue that major, recognizing that all CAP majors are not guaranteed. So always having a secondary option and looking at other non-CAP majors that may be of interest to you. So that way you can kind of navigate both the CAP major and pursuing that, but also if that doesn't work, you have a plan B. And then also, should we choose first quarter classes based on your current major? If you're planning to switch to a major, we recommend that you are choosing your classes based on the major that you plan to switch to, your proposed major. So that way you are on track with those requirements as well. And then the AP scores, you should be able to see your AP scores once they're posted to your academic record on the academic history, or if you are navigating your degree audit, you should be able to see them there, and your unofficial transcript. So there's a couple ways you can see where and how things are posted. Your academic history is a pretty easy way to see if your AP scores have been posted to your academic record.
So questions about AP, you'll want to reference, if you want to know what credit you're earning with your AP classes, you'll want to reference the AP charts. Those are available in the UCSD catalog. So if you do a quick search for that on the UCSD website, you'll be able to pick up that AP chart there. In terms of when we recommend enrolling in classes, students will be receiving, if they haven't received notification yet, of your specific enrollment time. So when you get your enrollment time, that's when you're going to enroll in classes. Let's see. Another question about AP, as well as Doc. So when you're creating your schedule and say you have a lot of AP credits to consider, you would use the enrollment guidance to see where you're placed. So that's the first start. And like what was mentioned previously, you're really looking at your writing course for that, math, if that's required for your major, as well as chemistry, if that's required for your major. So as a start, you want to take a look at that AP credit that you may have received, and then begin planning around that. And in terms of doc is a writing course. There is no other lower division writing sequence that's required for Marshall students. So we got more than a couple of questions in the Q&A just about doc. So doc is the writing sequence that you are required to take. We probably have time just for a few more questions. Again, we are available next week, Monday, online to answer any questions that we were not able to cover today, but we'll keep on going through these Q&A for you.
There's a student who asked about that students can't take any more than 200 units in total. That is not true here, at least firmly not true. As a fall 2021 student, you will be you are held to the quarter limit policy, which is 12 academic quarters. And as you're navigating that, if you have questions, you can contact us in the Virtual Advising Center, and we can help assist you in the academic planning process. And then there's a question on holds. Does it affect your enrollment appointment, or does it simply restrict you from enrolling in classes? So holds don't impact your time, in that your enrollment appointment time is your enrollment appointment time that has been communicated to you. The hold does prevent you from enrolling in your classes. So making sure that you are checking to make sure you don't have holds, so that way when your enrollment time goes live, that you don't encounter any problems in navigating and enrolling in courses. So making sure that you're checking frequently and making sure you're going through your training checklist, so that way there aren't any mystery holds that appear on your record right before you enroll. There's a lot of deadlines coming up, so really being on top of that will help prevent from any holds popping up on your account.
Okay, so at this time, we are going to end the webinar. And again, there are lots of questions, Q&A, lots of really good questions. We encourage you to hop on to e-advising on Monday. Send all your questions to us, especially those that we were not able to get to today. And we will look into your records and we will answer all those questions for you. Again, I wanted to thank my colleagues, Lizzie Miller, Michael Gangitano, and Monica Gonzalez. She's in the background, also answering questions for us in the Q&A. We look forward to seeing you in the fall quarter, but we also look forward to getting your questions on Monday. All right, folks, have a great afternoon, and thanks for stopping by.